And I'm Fabrizio Grossi, and actually we're here to talk about the second installment on Faithsedge. We don't have a title yet. That's actually a good title. We don't have a title, no title yet. But anyways, here's the guy that writes the words, so let him speak.
So far, volume 2. It's probably an email you sent me that I thought was...
Yeah, but it's getting a cliche. Everybody does volume 2, like, you know, all the good bands, so we should.
Yeah, you don't want any of my title ideas.
No. It's okay, as long as it's not Skull and Bones and Satan and the Followers. And, you know,
I was thinking the Dragon and the Rainbow.
Well, that actually is kind of catchy.
We're in pre-production right now, so working on songs. I'm working on some stuff Bob has too, which is new to me. I'm used to just starting things straight from the get-go. And with Bob, there's obviously like a chemistry, so I'm working on some stuff that he had done that I think really fits what we're doing.
Yeah, well, I guess the difference between what we're doing now for this record versus the first one is just that it's not really different in terms of like how you play or how you write or anything like that. It's just that I guess for the first record, most of the material comes from Giancarlo's bag. But then obviously we sat down, we just moved things around. I added stuff, we took stuff off, we kind of like traded, but you know, it was pretty much coming from his hand, and he had pretty much all his life to do it. While this time around, I guess things are a little bit more critical. It's a very fine line between having, I guess, a great record of today with reminiscences of, you know, what it was or your influences or wherever, you know, whatever the panorama of where all as a musician come from. And one thing is just to do an 80s rip-off record like a lot of people would love to. No, I'm not talking about you in the sense. It's just like a lot of, you know, there's a lot of, I would say, die-hard fan and writers, and especially in Europe, that got this thing that if it's not 80s, it doesn't work. Well, I was really happy that, you know, with Faithsedge, we're kind of like, we approach it like that. Giancarlo's, it's a big fan of 80s band. Obviously, I'm probably closer because of the age to some of that sound.
Isn't that funny?
But it's not really necessarily like that, you know, we says, okay, let's do a record that sounds like Rat, or absolutely not. We just put together all these influences, and now we want to maintain these influences, and I wanted to make sure that everybody understands that we're not afraid of saying that, you know, on my CD charger in the car, there is not only, you know, Godsmack or Bjork or Radiohead, but there is also, I don't know, Steve Stevens and Billy Idol. I'm not afraid to say what we listen, you know, what I'm listening is same as the other guys. So we're not afraid of our influences in the sound, but I wanted to make sure that those influences reflects the time we live in. In other ways, that's where we're coming from, that's what we learned from that lesson, but we're doing it today. So that's, I would say, is probably the biggest challenge for this record, and that's why we're getting like really extra picky on the song. We're writing more than what we need to do a record, just to make sure that this message gets you know, delivered properly.
There's a big responsibility after the first album. All the songs were really stellar, so when I'm writing, I'm always like, it's a lot of pressure, but I know where it needs to be, and Fob will know. We just know. We had a song on the first record, Let It End This Way. I remember coming in here, and it had completely different lyrics, and we both knew. Remember, it just wasn't. The lyrics I had before just weren't fitting the overall picture of what we were going for. And then we both knew it, so I went home and I had an idea. I wrote it like a week.
Less,
man. I came back and it's one of my favorite songs on the record.
Yeah.
So so we somehow just know what's happening, what's working, what's not working. I take his advice. I have a song working on right now where I'll be like, okay, and he'll be like, well, you can do better in this area or that area, and it's always, I don't know, just really works. Everything really works. So the point is that all the songs have to be as good as the first record. Everything was consistent. I can't think of one where it was like, wow, this song is a throwaway. I have ones that I might think I could have done tiny better or whatever in certain areas, but I can't honestly say that one song in the album was a filler song. The song When I Lost You, I kind of wanted to go for something up-tempo, old school, but heavy at the same time. So my main riff, I just kind of heard it was like a... which was kind of the basis of where the song was going to go. It's real up-tempo. And then the verse, I kind of took the same concept and put it in the riff where I would start singing. In the chorus, I gave it more space to let the vocals really go. It lets it stand out, and I had like, I think 3 sections of what I want to do harmony, like a mid, a high, and a low. So that was more plain. And then the middle section, after going kind of repeat, I have a middle thing that had it through something kind of fast in there, progressive. So I mean, the song's pretty up-tempo, straight ahead, has some things where I do some off-time things like that. But overall, with that song, I wanted to accomplish a song for the band where it's probably my favorite song I've ever written, because it's got everything I think a good rock song should have. It has a hook, it has cool lyrics, it has meaning. The song itself is just about people I've met and kind of watching them, maybe when they meet somebody and the person who they first met is no longer that person. And When I Lost You is kind of like, I've seen people accept that maybe that person's not who they thought they were. So I'm really happy with the song.
This new record is going to be definitely heavier than the first record.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Heavier, I mean, not heavier because all of a sudden we're playing Slayer, Slipknot. It's just that within the same genre, it's just the performance, the choices of the riff, the tempo of the song and everything, it's more up to date. I mean, bottom line, all these songs, even though the messages are very positive and there is a lot of very good, I would say, overall idea of kind of like being positive and love and understanding and all the good stuff, they're coming from a point of being met. I mean, most of the songs, without going too much into specifics, were written, especially the lyrics, because they're coming from either real story or stuff that happens. The final message, it's positive, but the way we get to the final phrase or to the punchline, it comes from either a painful or suffering or dark experience. So I wanted to make sure that the music reflects even more that. That's why I was telling Giancarlo, maybe, you know, kind of like major chords and stuff like that, I'm not really cool about it. It's not that I'm not really cool about it. I think sometimes, you know, it's just, if you can create the right soundtrack to the movie that are the lyrics, and this guy is really good writing down words, I think it's probably, you know, it's a more complete and a more mature result. The overall, I think people will understand it as like, wow, this is really 2012 or 2013. It's not, oh, some guys playing 80s ended up in getting lucky with a few new guitar sounds. It's a completely different things. We were talking about it. We might bring in a couple of keyboards element, but still in a very 70s way. What I'm saying is like we're almost like going backwards to going forward. This new record is going to be more dry, more solid, more acid, more performance. Like those bands when they were used to play really heavy rock or power rock or however you want to call it. Back in the days, if you check out those jams of, you know, Deep Purple or Led Zeppelin or Cream or Mountain and all those bands, there was something about the way that these people were playing and the way the sound was coming out. This is what we're trying to recreate with this one. Not into try to make a new Poison record or a new record. As far as the production, even though I respect this band, I'm looking forward to do, you know, to get inspired more from The Song Remains the Same or Made in Japan or, you know, Mississippi Woman and that kind of stuff. More than sonic-wise, I'm not talking about the style. The way we're putting together this thing with on this phase of the pre-production, it's very simple. Both Giancarlo and I and pretty much all the other guys have a recording system. And what we've been doing is we've been exchanging files. Like John generally sits down and just put down some riff chords and stuff like that, and then he sends it over, and kind of like I start to kind of go through it.
And I'm not good with it either.
And what we do is just kind of like open a session for it and just start to kind of like adding things, move it around, just kind of like, I would say, document ideas more than record songs or build or anything like that, because at the end of the day we still have to kind of like learn the songs and play it the proper way. It cannot just be left alone to this and then this turns into a record. But I think this is a great vehicle to I would say, to get songs or material done properly, because it will give you the possibility of, just like I said, document all your writing, every single idea that you have, and it kind of like allows you to kind of like patch it and cut it and paste it and just do whatever you need to do until the overall structure and general sense of the song, I would say, feels good. Well, we do everything with a click right now because it's easier, obviously, to come up with structures and everything like that, because for all of our living locations, I mean, Giancarlo and I were living in the same city, but, you know, it's like,
still, yeah.
It's like 2 worlds apart, you know, because we're like, what, 70 miles apart?
Yeah.
And obviously Tony lives in Nashville and Alex lives in Italy, so it's kind of like, you know, difficult to get together and write song in the rehearsal room.
Fortunately.
So we have to kind of like lean on technology for, you know, to get some help to do that. But again, I think that's a good way to, you know, to use technology properly and not just let technology to use you. So what we have right now, it's for example, this is like one song, it's called Attentive title. It's When I Lost You, and it started with this guitar riff, and we just started messing with things around and
Bob came up with that idea. Like in my mind, I didn't hear that. He had it where it stopped. I like that a lot. All the lies and the people you hang around. I made up my mind and walked straight through the door. You'd start to tell me that your world is turning gray. Couldn't look inside your heart. I can't make you find your way. Didn't have to say.
Probably going to be using some of these tracks that we have on the pre-production to use as a kind of like a reference or guide for us to prepare everything that we need to do, and then we'll go in and we'll record. Hopefully this time we'll be able to do you know, most of the recordings together. Positive message, it's there, and that's what we deliver.
Yeah.
Sometimes, especially in the times we're in, you really need to knock some people in the face just to get them to understand the message.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have a kid that is not doing a thing, and I understand in this country they don't really approve that, but sometimes like, POM! You know, what the hell are you doing? That's not because it's meant bad. I was raised like that too, and you know, I'm not holding it against my parents, because it's not that every time I open my mouth I was getting slapped. But what I'm saying, sometimes you do something really wrong and they telling you, do not do it, please do not go there, don't, you keep on doing it. Sometimes you need to kind of like have the reality hitting you in the face. Sometimes, even though it's not really polite, you might really need to raise your voice to make your point heard.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all, that's what it is.